You're listening to Big Sis Energy.
Welcome back to Big Sis Energy. I'm your host, Makenzie.
And I'm your other host, Malia. Today we're going to be talking about everything confidence.
All things confidence. I'm so excited for today because, for one, I really want to talk about insecurities we've had in the past, insecurities we have present day, and how we've kind of grown and also deal with those day to day. Maybe that's like self-doubt, insecurities, not feeling like your best, but how to still stay confident and become a confident woman.
Yes.
So
I feel like it's honestly a daily struggle, but also like continuing to grow, because obviously like comparing myself to when I was, a freshman in high school or even like in middle school, I've changed a lot. And I feel like I'm a lot more confident now than I was back then. And that's just with like growing up and like things that you learn from being a little girl to
now
a woman,
Yeah. I think for me, like before, I'd say like junior year of high school, I started becoming more confident. So maybe like 16 years old. When I was younger though, I definitely compared myself a lot to other people. And I think that comparing yourself to others is so hurtful to your mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think for me, if I would compare myself to others, no one is who you are. I think, because even you and I, we're sisters. We're not twins, but we're almost there. We
could be.
get treated and like looped in as twins,
Right.
but we're still different people. And even like maybe when I was younger, if I'd compare myself to you or like, maybe we're doing basketball and I'm like, dang, like she's better than me or whatever
No, and
it
I've
may
done
be.
that too, especially growing up as sisters and being so close in age. Like I have definitely struggled with that growing up because I'm like, oh, like, this doesn't look a certain way, or like someone said this to you, but not to me, or like, whatever the case may be.
Or even like a friend maybe liking you better than me. I would get self-conscious.
I feel like personality-wise too, because we're so different, like, but also the same at the same time. We like a lot of the same things, but our personalities are kind of polar opposites.
Exactly.
And I feel like I'm a little bit more laid back, and she's a little bit more like outgoing. But not that it's bad. I always felt like, oh, I'm not as outgoing as her. Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
But it's okay to not be super outgoing and like.
Or whatever it may be, whatever the difference is. Yeah, I think for me, my biggest insecurity is actually my birthmark. So I was born with a birthmark on my leg, on both of my legs. My right leg has like the front of it is white and the back of it's white. And then the back of my left leg is white too. And this is genetic. My mom has had it. My grandpa has had it. A lot of my extended family has birthmarks. And for me, my mom's birthmark went away before she met my dad. She met dad at like 19. So I'm like, the day I turn 19, there's gonna be no white stuff on my leg.
She was like counting down the days and she's
literally,
like...
I'm like, I hope by the time I meet my boyfriend or like my husband, like I won't have my, white leg. But here I am with my birthmark.
From my point of view, I think it's so cool. Like it makes her so unique. And I feel like, especially growing up, being like younger, I'm always like, oh, like people always look at something that's different, but being different isn't bad. I feel like society thinks that like the word different means bad, but it's not. It makes you unique and it makes you,
And the only thing is, people can tell you that over and over again, because you've told me that my whole life. My mom's told me that my whole life. My grandpa, who's had the same thing on his leg, everyone says that to you. But until you can become confident in yourself, it's still gonna be an insecurity. For me, it's still an insecurity till this day. Like, I know when I'm in an area with a lot of kids, I'm gonna be stared at and my legs are gonna be like kind of the center of attention because I'm brown and my legs are white. You know what I mean? Because it's different. And I think for me, it took a lot to get to a point where I'm comfortable like showing my legs sometimes because it's hard, like when people are looking at you, saying things about you or thinking things about you. Because I know like when I was a kid, maybe like elementary school, people would be like, oh my gosh, like cow leg girl. Or they'd be like, oh my gosh, did your leg get eaten by a shark? And I'm like,
kids are so like, they will say anything that's on the top of their head and they'll like point out anything.
Yeah, but I think those comments can really get to you. And even as an adult now, 10 years later from when that kid said that my leg looks like a cow leg, it still affects me. You know what I mean? Like just thinking about that is hard to move past, but it's important because my insecurity, my leg that's a different color than the rest of my body does not define who I am.
Right.
Like my appearance and the way that I look to other people doesn't define my character, my personality, who I actually am as a person. And I feel like that's something that is tangible. That's something that I can control and who I am as a person, how I treat my family, how I treat my sister, how I treat my boyfriend, those are the things that I can control, and that's who I am. Like being a good partner, being a good sister, being thoughtful and present and a good listener. I feel like those are things that I am. That's who I am, not my cow leg. You know what I mean?
So what do you feel like has helped you like realize that and kind of grow into like thinking that way and being like confident or more confident in your leg?
And being able to like wear shorts?
Yeah.
I think it's still a daily thing for me. Like I still get self-conscious about it. I think just knowing that it's never gonna go away. Like for a long time I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because it did happen to my mom. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait till the day that this thing gets off my leg, but it's still here. And I think probably like a year and a half ago to like a year ago is really when I sat down with myself and I was like, hey, like this is gonna be on your body for the rest of your life. And it's okay. And it's not the end of the world. Like if someone thinks of me different because of the way my leg looks, that's a little ridiculous.
Well, that's
like,
a them problem
exactly,
too. Like,
that's a them problem. And I can't control that. And I think realizing that things that are out of my control are simply out of my control.
Yeah.
It's not up to me. I was just born this way.
Right.
That's how I was made. And that's okay. And I feel like that can be with any insecurity that you may have.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's definitely the thing for me.
That's so good too, not having your identity in your appearance. Because that's so hard, I feel like nowadays, especially with social media.
And
like,
as a young girl.
Constantly comparing yourself to people, like how they look on Instagram. Like I'm like, I do this all the time, but like, just like the way you pose.
Yes.
And things like that. Like you can make your body look a certain way on Instagram, but then in reality, like I don't look like that.
Right.
And same thing, like, but when I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh my gosh, like why don't I look like that? Like, and that's so hard to constantly be feeding your mind with that all the time. And then at that point, it becomes a habit of constantly comparing yourself to other people. And that can be so toxic to the brain because
you're like, constantly comparing yourself.
Yeah.
I think that that's another thing is what you view and what you listen to truly does affect your mind.
Yeah.
If you're constantly feeding your mind with, oh my gosh, this girl's so much prettier than me, and you're comparing yourself to other people, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And even if it's your subconscious thinking that, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll be scrolling and I'm like, I think for me, I've gotten to a place where I'm not comparing myself to other women.
Right.
I can appreciate, oh my gosh, this girl is so beautiful. I love her hair.
Yeah.
I love her outfit. I love her style. She's like has a great body. She does great in the gym. Like I can appreciate people without tearing myself down.
Right.
Another woman's beauty doesn't take away from my own, you know? Like, and that's for anybody out there. Like someone else being beautiful doesn't mean you're any less beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, just because you might look different. That's not a bad thing. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what makes everyone different, you know?
I know, and because you don't look like someone else and they're super pretty, like does not mean that you aren't, you know?
Any less pretty, exactly.
Because the uniqueness of everyone makes them beautiful.
And next thing we wanted to talk about was, I think, Malia, your kind of like how you were when you were a little bit younger.
Yeah. I feel like growing up, especially like in middle school and like a little bit of high school, is like, I would compare myself, but also I felt like I was kind of a people pleaser. Like I cared a lot about like what other people thought of me. And when I actually got over that and I was like, okay, I don't really care what, you know, my friends or like maybe boys thought of me. Like when you get over that, that's when I felt like I was kind of stepping into being more confident and being confident in myself. But that's such a bad place to be in because then you kind of do whatever you can to please somebody or, you know, whether it's your personality, your appearance, like, and then you end up doing things that you don't want to do.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember, I think it was like 7th grade or 6th grade. We had a group of girlfriends. There was probably like 6 of us. And we were all like pretty tight. But I remember there was 2 girls that would constantly pick on you. And they knew you were super nice and would basically do like whatever because you were nice. And if they ask you to go get them water, you'd be like, yeah, I got you. Like,
yeah.
And I noticed that they were taking advantage of you. And I told you, I was like, hey, like, you shouldn't allow that anymore.
Well,
you know?
and that's so true because people will take advantage of people,
Yes.
like nice people like that.
Yes.
Which is why you can still be a nice person, but without letting people stomp all over you.
So
like,
do you
and sticking up for yourself, you know?
Do you think that being like a people pleaser was like derived from an insecurity? Or do you think that was part of your personality?
I think it's wanting other people to like me. So yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's okay to realize that not everyone's gonna like you, and just because my personality, like again, like our personalities are different. Sometimes I'd notice and be like, oh, like they only really talk to Makenzie, but not me. Like what's wrong with me? When in reality, like you guys just get along better. I think now I realize that, but before I was just like, oh, it's a me problem. Like, okay to not get along with everybody. It's okay to not like everybody, and for them to not like me. Like now I'm at a place where I don't really care.
I think too, like, not everybody is gonna like you, and that's something that you have to realize. And that's something that I realized as I got older was, if one person has something bad to say about me that's negative, but the majority of people that are in my life that support me, that truly love me, like my family, know that I'm a good person, I'm comfortable with that. I don't need somebody that I just met off the street being like, I don't like you, I don't like the way your hair looks. That doesn't affect me anymore.
Because it's more off of appearance. It's like they don't know your actual character and your heart.
And who you are.
And that's what actually matters, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one more thing we wanted to talk about, or there's actually 2 more topics for the insecurity part of this. Yeah. But I wanted to talk about acne. I think acne was a really big thing for probably both of us, honestly.
Both of us, but at different times.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I was a freshman and sophomore when I started getting like pretty bad acne. It's funny because people always think that I have like naturally really good skin and it's genetics. And I'm like, no, girl, I had acne and I had to go to the dermatologist and it was not always clear. So let me tell you guys what I did. So basically, I went to the dermatologist and they put me on all of these different oral pills, topical gels, creams, the whole 9, okay? So they put me on everything and my acne got really bad, like way worse. And there's like a 60-day period where your skin is kind of like,
doesn't it get a flare up and then it adjusts to the medication?
That's what it is. Yeah, so that period sucks because you're like, okay, I just spent this money at the dermatologist and now my skin looks worse than it was. Yeah. So yeah, I think when that happened, I went from having like fungal acne, basically like very tiny little bumps on my forehead, to a ton of hormonal acne on my cheeks. And they were super red, super pigmented, and something that I couldn't hide. And I remember like we would always go to the gym and I'd be like, okay, well, I can't show my face. It's so red. There's so many bumps. And it was something that I was honestly like very self-conscious about. And even though people probably didn't even look at it and care, people aren't even looking at you. People aren't even looking at me, yet it still affects me that much. Yeah. And that's okay. I feel like we all have days or periods of times. For me, it was 60 days of like terrible, terrible acne. But yeah, so I would just put on makeup like before we would go to the gym, before we would go to work, and I would just cover it up. And I would usually never wear makeup to the gym. So it was like very different for me because I always knew that with the type of acne I had, it was not good to wear makeup with it. So I would never wear makeup to the gym because of that reason. But my acne got so bad that I was like, I have to put on some concealer here, concealer there. And so I did that for a period of time. But I think that was something that made me feel more confident. And you know, that was a little extra concealer. And that was fine. It made me feel a little bit more confident for the time being, and it wasn't a forever thing. But even like little things like that do help you, that at least you can get to the gym, at least you can get to work, and you're not like super self-conscious all day thinking about that. I feel like those things are important too. Just like the little tiny things that you can control. Because you can't control your skin flaring up for 60 days because of a new prescription.
The medication, right.
Yeah, so after the 60 days, it actually ended up going away. And I've been using basically the same stuff since then. But yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because like I love makeup. Even like before, because when I had acne too, that was my go-to, obviously. Like I would just kick on the makeup and I'd be good to go. But I still like makeup now. I feel like a lot of people think it's like makeup is only for covering up like insecurities on your face. But like I feel like it's a way to enhance your beauty, you know? Yeah. And that's how I look at it. Obviously, like, you know, I have dark circles under my eyes that I want to cover up. There's always something that like I would want to change, but...
And expressing yourself artistically, too. I feel like makeup can be used for anything.
Of it, yeah,
for
fun.
Sure.
I enjoed it a lot.
But I think more so, because you didn't have acne when you were young.
No, my skin was really, really good up until I started taking a lot of vitamins that my doctor prescribed for me, just for like other health issues we talked about in the past or previous episode. But it made me flare up a lot, and I got a lot of kind of like... almost cystic acne where it was like really deep-rooted pimples, and it was definitely hormonal. So it was something that like, if I didn't take my vitamins, my skin would clear up, but then as soon as I started taking them, I'd get a flare-up, and then I'd be like, okay, well, obviously I need to take my vitamins to feel good, but that means I have to like sacrifice having acne.
Right.
That's something that, for me, was like a little challenging because obviously it's something on your face that you can't get rid of. And like same thing with like other appearances. Like I remember when I was younger, especially like in middle school, I hated my nose. I don't know why, but I was always like, I hate my nose. Like I don't like it. And I feel like growing up now, I'm like, okay, this is the nose that God gave me and it's a part of me. Like that's, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think with time too, as you grow up, a lot of those things just kind of start to click. Like over time, it's like, okay, I've looked at this, you know, for me, my birthmark. I've looked at this birthmark every day for the past 19 years.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it now. Same thing with probably your nose. You know what I mean?
The crazy thing is too, everyone is their worst critic.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
No one notices the things that you notice. It's like my nose. Probably no one noticed it. But for me, I was like, it was the end of the world when I was
like,
9.
I've always thought that you were, like, had the cutest nose. Like, it's so cute. So, yeah, I think you're totally right with that. I think everyone, like you said, is their worst critic.
Yeah. Like, even in the gym, too, with, like, your body image and stuff like that. Like, obviously, there's things that I always want to work on in my body. I'm like, oh, I'm never satisfied, you know? And I think that's the constant thing is, like, us as humans are never satisfied with how we look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And we're hyper fixated on it, like 24/7. I mean, I know when Malia and I used to be heavy gym rats. I mean,
yeah,
we were,
that's true, yeah.
This was, if you guys saw last week's episode, we got taken out of school and we did online school for 3 years. And when we were doing online school, we were grounded. We weren't allowed to do pretty much anything. So we went to work and we went to the gym like 2 times a day.
We would spend like 2, maybe 3 hours in the gym.
I was
daily.
ripped. Like I had really good muscle definition. And that was, even then, I still hyper fixated on things that I was like, okay, I want this to change. I want this to change. I want this to go. I want this to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're never satisfied with like how
And looking
you look.
back now, I'm like, Makenzie, I wish I looked like my 16-year-old ripped self. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So you're always kind of wishing for something you didn't have. You know what I mean? Like, and once you get to that point where you can kind of accept, I think for me, the gym and like body image has been a big, more of like a recent, I feel like, insecurity.
Yeah.
Just because of how like lean we were and how like muscular we were.
Especially looking back on photos of my younger self. And I'm comparing myself to like 16-year-old me. And obviously too, that's something that like I want to work on as well because I just need to have that dedication again of like actually going. But knowing that I don't have to look the same way I did.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And there's always, I think for me too, after I was in a relationship, because I've been dating my boyfriend for 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years. When I first met him, I was like, ugh.
Jacked.
Like I was not jacked, but I was like very lean. And now like I've probably put on like 20 pounds, honestly, like since we've been in the relationship.
And
I'm
you
like,
look great.
But I'm like, I'm a little thicker. And I feel like that can kind of get into your mind too.
Yeah.
And like even when I'm in the gym.
Same with me because we moved out like about a year ago, a little over a year ago.
From our parents' house.
And like I used to eat so good. And then moving out was definitely like kind of a wake-up call because I definitely started eating out more.
Yeah.
And I noticed like I started to gain weight as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, like, I don't know. It's a big change, but also looking at myself and being like, oh, like I don't look like how I used to. And then also knowing that I do have to like, or I want to eat healthy.
Yeah, and
like
exercise.
change those
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But yeah, exercising makes me feel super confident. Not in the way of like, obviously I want to work on my body, but mentally too. I feel like it's a great de-stressor and I just feel good afterwards.
Yeah, I always have, after I run, I used to run track, but now when I run, I'm like, oh my gosh, runner's high is a real thing. Like, because I usually don't really like running, but if I'm sprinting and I'm doing interval sprints, after I'm done, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do that more.
Yeah.
Like I always am
feel
like,
good.
oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
I wish I did that more. So let me actually start doing it.
Yeah.
Let me actually start putting in the work. So yeah, I think that was another big thing. Should we get into the questions?
Yes, let's do it.
I'm like, ooh. Okay. So these are actually not questions. These are ways that you guys said that you feel the most confident. I'm so excited to go over these and see what makes you guys feel confident. I'm sure we'll relate to a lot of the little things that y'all said. So the first thing is, I was super insecure growing up in a predominantly white area, but realizing God made me this way and loves me like this made me realize I can love myself. Also going on social media and seeing beautiful Black women.
Oh,
I love that.
I love that.
I love that. Oh, I can definitely relate to that.
We can both relate.
We went to school in, I think there was 2,000 kids. There was 10, maybe 20 people of color. Like I'm talking all colors, like all ethnicities.
Yeah.
all races.
Yeah,
like,
so there wasn't a lot of us.
Yeah, I think in our grade, there was not a lot. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
But it was definitely a challenge, even with our hair.
Yeah.
Everyone had straight hair.
Yeah, and that was something that I struggled with. Well, we both struggled with was I always felt like I had to straighten my hair because no one else had curly hair.
Yep.
And also I didn't even know how to do my curly hair. That was, so for me, it was easier just to straighten it and be like, okay, well, you know, I'll just look like everyone else. And plus people commenting on it too. Like if I were to wear my hair curly, they'd be like, oh, why is it so frizzy?
You look like a lion.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just straighten my hair again.
Yeah, let me go home really quick and get a flat iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think hair is a big thing. And also too, like the color of our skin. Like I know a lot of people at our school would be kind of racist. I'm not gonna lie.
Kinda is an understatement.
Yeah, like people literally would call us the N-word like every day at school.
Crazy thing is too, like obviously now we'd handle it a lot differently, but like especially being young
and like in such a minority, like there's no one else to be like, hey, that's not cool to say that.
Right. So no one's like sticking up for you, and then like I didn't have the balls to stick up for myself either because everyone would be like, oh, you're being so overdramatic, like just get over it.
Just
like,
take a joke.
And they'd always play it off as, oh, it's a joke. But I'm like, okay,
it's not funny anymore.
Though.
It wasn't
like
funny
no
the
one
first
thought it was
time.
funny, maybe except for you. So
yeah, that's what I. I don't even know.
That's a whole other topic.
I don't even know how to give advice on that. Like if you're in that situation now, especially if you're like 10 out of the 2,000. You know what I mean? Because if I know we had other friends, like one of our guy friends, he was on the basketball team. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
And he was mixed too. And oh my gosh, like he would just
get grilled every single day.
Every day.
And
I'm like, you can't change your skin color.
Right.
I was born like this.
Yeah.
Like this is my skin. I love it. I am so happy with the way that I am. And if someone has a problem with me because of my skin color, next.
Well, it's hard to be around a majority of people that are like, oh, you know, we don't like you because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
Or like, we're gonna make fun of you because of the color of your skin.
And it wasn't necessarily like our entire school.
Right.
It was like the same people every day. So, you know, maybe that wasn't the entire school being like, oh my gosh, calling us the N-word, but it was the like same people every day.
Quite a few people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not undermine that actually. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's hard. Ugh.
I mean, I feel like the main thing is, like we were saying in the beginning, is just being confident in yourself, but also not caring what other people think.
Yeah,
like, obviously, when it comes to skin color, though, that's really, really hard because obviously that's like, you know, a racism problem.
Oh my gosh. And even like, I think now we choose who we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
I don't hang out with racist people.
And that's so hard in school too, because when you are around a majority of people that, you know, maybe don't look like you and also like point out the differences, it's hard.
Yeah.
I think what the question or what their answer kind of said, it was like realizing, accepting like for who God made them as. And even on social media too, I think that's such a cool thing because social media can be toxic, but seeing other people that look like you on there and just kind of like embracing that is so cool.
Especially when you don't see that in your day-to-day life.
Right.
Like for us, like growing up and only seeing like people who are white, but then going on social media and be like, oh my gosh, someone has curly hair too?
Yeah.
Like I can relate with this person.
And that's how we learned how to do our curly hair because we had no idea. But when we started to like research on YouTube and like other platforms, that's when we really started to embrace our curls. We're like, oh my gosh, like they can actually look good.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So it's cool. And that aspect of social media is really, really helpful because there's so many different kinds of people and you can learn so much.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that we're in a place, like you said, with our younger sister.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what type of advice to give her with like dealing with the race thing.
Yeah.
Because when you're surrounded by those people and you can't remove yourself from the situation, it makes the problem a little bit harder.
Right.
Versus Malia and I's situation, we work from home and we're not in school right now. So we don't have to surround ourselves with people that we don't feel like need to be in our life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from people from high school that are racist, I don't talk to them. I don't hang around them. Like it's just simple. I just don't hang around them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's that. Oh my gosh. I remember one time we went to our friend's like birthday party and this was like a year ago.
Oh, almost 2 years ago actually.
2 years ago. So like we were already like out of high school. We had graduated and we went to like a little birthday party thing. And it was with like everyone we went to high school with, but it was our friend's birthday. We pull up, it's me, Malia, and our friend, who's also mixed, we're all just standing in the corner. Like, what the heck is going on?
It was so
no
awkward
one would
too.
talk to us.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the
everyone
heck?
was very weird and like standoffish. I was like, what the heck is going on?
And I'm like, we do know you guys. Like, you can say hi. Like,
Yeah.
what's up, guys? Like, it's been a minute, but I still like remember you. Like, we still know each other kind of. And it was just so weird. Yeah. And then that one kid that was always really racist.
Yeah.
Played freaking people in Paris. And
yeah, and then he was like, who's in Paris?
And I'm like, nah. It's time to be quiet now.
Like, okay.
It's time to be quiet.
We're gonna leave.
Okay, next one.
That was okay. Let's move on. Anyways,
I'm like, this is enough of that.
Yeah.
Okay. When I get ready with my friends and we do our makeup together, that makes me feel safe and confident.
oh,
That makes me so happy for you.
especially
oh my
having
gosh.
friends that are uplifting and like are rooting for you and just like a good, even just like a good influence, a good environment. Like that is so important.
When all the energy's right and everyone is uplifting each other.
Yeah.
If you feel safe with your friends and that makes you feel confident, I am so happy for you. That's such a good place to be in.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's true in the sense where like you could only have like 1 to 2 good,
really
solid
good
friends
yeah.
for life, you know? And I feel like you found your friends.
And
you
even
found
like
your solid friends.
being around negative energy and people that are always, you know, down on themselves, like sometimes can make you feel the same way.
That
you know?
is so true.
And that can
yeah.
totally weigh on how you feel. Because I've had friends like that where they're always constantly negative, pointing out the negative things all the time. And it's like, that can be draining.
Yes,
you know?
for sure. Especially when it's constant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, everyone can feel down every once in a while. And, like, that's okay. Obviously, we're human. But, like, when it's a constant thing, that's hard to be around.
I think for me, what I've realized with friendships and the energy change, I noticed that if I go into a setting with friends and my energy is super drained and I feel almost sad when I leave, then that's not a good situation for me to be in. And that's not a healthy relationship, or that's not a healthy group of friends for me to surround myself with, because I'm not feeling, you know, the same as when I walked in or even uplifted.
Right.
I love surrounding myself with powerful women and people who everyone uplifts each other. And I think
everyone's kind of like-minded too, you know?
I know we're talking about confidence, and I feel like comparing and insecurities go hand in hand. I feel like we're now in a place, like, as we're becoming adults, it's so beautiful to see people not comparing each other and just lifting everybody up.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's a change that I've seen in so many of our friends that we've made this, like, past 2 years. No one compares each other. No one compares themselves to one another.
Yeah.
It's, oh my gosh, you're doing so good and I'm so proud of you. Maybe I'm at a different place in my life, but that's okay.
Right.
You know, not even talking about, you know, looks or anything like that, but like even stages in life.
Right.
I know for like Malia and I, even comparing ourselves for like not going to college, like that definitely made me insecure for a while. And people would make comments and it would totally affect me because I'm like, okay, in my mind, I thought I was doing something wrong. But I realized
everyone painted it as like, oh, you're going to be a failure if you don't go to college.
And that's the only way out. Like, that's the only way to be successful. And I think for Malia and I, once we started doing social media, and we're freaking so blessed to, like, be able to call this our job, that's crazy to me. And I'll never take that for granted because it's a dream, like, to work with you too.
It's
like,
so
working
cool.
with my sister, my best friend, like, I'll never take that for granted. But I think once we got to a place where I wasn't insecure anymore, those comments of people saying, like, you're going to be a failure for not going to college didn't upset me anymore.
You just push them aside and be like, whatever. I think we were so lucky, too, because our parents were super supportive.
Yeah.
And, like, having them in the back just, like, cheering us on.
Yeah.
And, I mean, our dad's an entrepreneur, so, like, he doesn't see college as, like, the only way. Obviously, college is there if we want to.
And very beneficial.
It is beneficial, but, like, it's not the route for everybody, you know?
And it could be the route for me in the future.
Right.
If I want to go to college tomorrow, I can sign myself up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's always going to be there. And I think that we took the opportunity that we had at the time and we ran with it. And we did make a business out of it, which is crazy. But yeah, I think also, like, knowing that you don't have to compare yourself to others.
Crazy because it literally can be any aspect of life.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Okay, the next one. Starting an actual skincare routine for some reason made me feel so much more confident.
Oh, yes.
I love this.
Yes, I love that too. This. Especially like self-care. I can totally relate to this, but like especially on a Sunday, kind of like prepping for the week.
Yes.
I feel super confident when I'm like, let's take care of my skin. Let's do a little like skin hair mask. Let's do, you know, whitening strips, all that type.
Let's paint the nails.
Yeah.
Even I think too, like things can get expensive, especially in beauty.
Right.
Like getting your nails and your toes done, a mani-pedi right now, $150 before tip. What the heck is that?
Yeah, that's actually wild. Because I remember when like in high school, I could get them done a manicure for probably $30.
30.
Obviously
30.
not tip included, but like 30 flat, like that's pretty good.
But $150 for a mani-pedi, that's a buck. That's a buck right there. So get yourself some Essie nail polish and paint your nails at home. You know what I mean? So like whatever makes you feel confident and makes you feel like you're doing like a full-on self-care day.
Right.
Paint your nails at home. Do your pedicure at home and do those whitening strips. Do it all.
And just like taking care of yourself. And I honestly really like style. I feel like style, when I have a good fit on, I feel super confident when I go out.
Even
like,
in the gym.
Like I look put together. Like even like I just naturally want to like make a fit and put it together because I like to do it and it's fun. But then also when I go out, I feel good and I know that I look good too. So I'm like, oh, like
I feel more confident.
I feel more confident that way. Yeah.
Even in the gym too. Like when I have, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't want to go to the gym. Then I put on my gym outfit and I'm like, okay,
dude,
I'm ready for the gym.
That's how I pump myself up to go because I'll be so lazy and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym at all. Like I'm tired. And then all of a sudden I put on a fit. Okay. I'm like, okay, I have to go now. Like I put on the cute little Alpha Elite set, or actually the Amazon set. Amazon has gotten so good with the dupes on there.
I know.
Like it's insane. I've seen so many good stuff that are like basically the same quality for like half the price.
It's basically like a pre-workout. Put on that gym fit, you're ready to go.
You're ready.
You're ready.
No, I can relate to this one.
Okay, next thing someone said that makes them feel confident is realizing there will never be another me. Period. Literally, oh my gosh. Okay, I think that's something that comes with time. Mm-hmm. And that's also like not comparing yourself to others. When you realize that no one else is you.
And just like your actual, like your heart and soul and things that you actually care about and how you present and represent yourself, you know?
Yes, even like the things that you've been through. Mm-hmm. I feel like your past can, you know, affect and change who you are for the good, for the bad, whatever that may be. But like no one has been through and walked in your shoes before.
Right.
And that's also what makes you you.
No, and it's so cool too, because especially when I was younger, I feel like the things that I went through, even though it was bad, made me into made me into who I am today. And I feel like that's so precious because sometimes you need bad things in your life to create the person you are today.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I've grown a lot just in, even like, I went to therapy like a year ago and we were talking about like our childhood and a lot of different like aspects of us growing up. And I remember her pointing out like, oh, that probably affected how you make friends now.
Right.
Like how your relationships are now. And I'm like, I never thought about that before, but it's like no one's been through the exact same things you've been through.
Right.
So it's not fair to compare yourself to others.
No, and it's so crazy that like the way you grew up and how things happen in your life make who you are today.
We were actually homeschooled when we were little, and I feel like our parents did a really good job of like making sure that we respected authority and had good character and respected other people. I feel like they really like nurtured that in us. Also really made me value just people in general, and I appreciate that.
Well, it's cool because after seeing that, like how our mom did that and working at a daycare too, you see what discipline and like not disciplining your kids does. And it made me realize like when I become a mom and a parent, like I want to value that so much, like character, especially at a young age, like 1, 2, 3, like all the way up to like, you know, you're 10.
Yes.
Like those are really like crucial, important years where if you don't kind of hone in on that, like your kids are going to turn out crazy and they're not going to respect authority.
They're going to be easily influenced. I remember, like you said, working at the daycare. I was in the 1.5-year-old room for like 2 years. So I was with the 1.5-year-olds. And I remember you can just see the difference in the parents. Like, let's say one of the kids does something bad that day. I would tell the parent, because you have to. Like, let's just say someone bit somebody else. I'd be like, hey, like, you know, young Pablo bit our friend, and we can't do that. We can't bite our friends. And the parent's like, my son would never do that. Pablo would never bite another kid.
They're in such denial. I'm like, okay, everyone messes up. Your kid is not the best thing in the world.
We all make mistakes. It's okay. And we can realize that and move forward, and that's going to be okay.
And they're kids. Like, if I was a parent, I wouldn't put anything past my kid. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, like if you did it, yeah, okay.
Pablo probably did bite his friend, and you know what? We're gonna go home, and he's gonna sit in timeout for a minute.
Right.
You know, I feel like discipline does a lot, especially at a young age, and I'm glad that our parents kind of instilled that in us, and being able to respect authority, like we were saying. Yeah. So I don't know how we got on that tangent.
Yeah, that was such like a random little like spiral. See, guys, this is why I don't know. Kenzie and I will get off track so quickly.
Pablo?
Like, where did that come from?
I don't know. Okay.
Next.
Okay, so the last, I guess, what scenario? Or what
scenario question, like answer?
Okay, I guess the last answer for how y'all feel the most confident on the day-to-day is getting my hair done or getting braids.
Ooh, hey. I can relate. I love getting braids.
I love switching it up. Like, whenever I get a fresh... Like, especially the Fulani braids. When I get the Fulani braids, every time. The blonde Fulani braids, I feel like a new woman.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I'm blonde?
Especially, like, changing your appearance, I can agree to that because it's so fun. And it's just, like, keeping your look fresh.
Doing something new?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just, like, you kind of look different in a way, but in a good way.
I feel like things like that are tangible, physical, that you can change every now and again, is so fun because it's like, okay, this will make me feel better for the time being. I feel like becoming more confident is an every single day journey. So and maybe that won't help you forever. Like, obviously you can't get new braids every day, you know, unless you're a pro at braiding, which I congratulate you if you can do your own braids.
That'd be crazy.
Because I wish I could. But the short term making you feel confident, that's so good to have, like, your go-to thing. Like, if you're ever feeling like, just having a bad day, you're like, okay, wait. Let me set up my braiding appointment.
Yeah, that'll make me feel better. A little me day, you know?
Yeah, let me have some half-baked ice cream. That'll make me feel better. I don't know about y'all.
That's my go-to comfort food.
From Ben & Jerry's?
Yeah. That's my favorite one.
But I feel like having those little things that can help you on those bad days, and then still having those steps to getting to the bigger picture of becoming the confident person, independent person that you want to be.
And I think it's a continual journey.
Exactly. Because I feel like even now, we all struggle every day, but it might look different than how it was 5 years ago.
Right. Like, I think as long as you can realize and acknowledge that you've started somewhere, but you're growing.
Yes.
And, like, fixing your mistakes, even just, like, with whatever that may be, that is so beneficial.
Yeah, because that's how you become a better person through time. So, yeah. But I guess that's pretty much it for today's episode. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
This was such a good episode. I enjoyed this a lot. I felt like it was very therapeutic. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about this. This is such an important topic. I feel like becoming confident is a part of maturing and growing up and becoming a woman too, a young adult. It's so important, and I'm so glad we got to talk about it today.
I know. I'm sure we'll have more episodes like this, but this was super fun. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. I keep forgetting that this isn't YouTube, so I'm like, okay. But you guys will be able to watch it if you want to on YouTube, but we also have it on Spotify and Apple. But
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. Make sure to follow us on Big Sis Energy with 2 Ys on Instagram to stay updated with all of the episodes so you don't miss one. And
on TikTok. Yes. And then also follow our personal TikTok, Makenzie and Malia, and our Instagrams as well, Kenzie Grace _ and Malia Alexis _. And that is it for this week.
Peace.
Bye.